So what is going on, everybody? Jay with us, back at it again. This time we're doing part two to what if Deku had a healing quirk. I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support on the last one. It's honestly it's amazing. Like I love making these videos, and I love you guys like them. So without further ado, let's get into part two of what if Deku had a healing quirk. We left off Momo just waking up from the infirmary, I believe. If not, this is where we're leaving off because I'm pretty sure. She wakes up and she sees Izuku sitting at her bedside, and he's I would say I think I said he was about like 10 months Deku, like ripped wise. So he looks good. Like no Diddy, no home. He looks good. Like I'm straight, but dude, the white hair with the pink eyes, like the pink highlights in your hair, he looked fine. No Diddy, like no no homo, I guess I should say. But anyways, so Momo was just, like she's blushing and he's just like, "Hey, are you okay? Like you took a pretty big hit back there. Like how you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm fine. It's just it burns a little bit, you know?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know. I was on the end of those explosions for a long time." And she's like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it too much. Just know me and Kotsky, we go way back. Like we knew each other back in elementary school, and he used to make fun of me because I all I had was a healing quirk, you know, and he thought that it wasn't flashy enough, and so he bullied me for that. And yeah, so and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, and then they just start talking, and she's like, "But would it be okay if I got your number?" And he would be like, "Yeah, sure. I don't see why not." So he gives her a number, and later that night they're just texting. They text back and forth, and like a week goes by of them texting, and she finally texts him that they're going to be going to the USJ. And so yeah, I was right. It is going to be USJ. So he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And he's like, "You guys are going to Universal Studios Japan?" And she's like, "Oh, no, not at all. He said they were actually going to this thing called an unforeseen simulation joint." And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool. When do you guys go?" And she's like, "Yeah, we have like about like a week, I think." And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." So the next day he goes into class with Recovery Girl, and the lesson for today is just keeping your patients into stable enough conditions, which he already knows pretty well. So he's just he starts talking to Recovery Girl, and he's like, "Hey, so they're gonna be having this like thing for Class 1A. I don't know if you know about it, but they're going to the USJ, the Unforeseen Simulation Joint." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm very aware." And she's like, "Actually, speaking of which, I was going to ask if you could go for us, so that way, just in case that, let's say something was too harsh for them, they needed a healer." And so, yeah, I was actually just about to ask if one of you guys wanted to go because we don't really need more than just one. So, I guess since you're asking, we can allow you to go. And he's just like, "Oh, that's perfect." Like, and he's like, "I'll get to spend more time with that girl." And then he thinks about it. He's like, "Oh crap, I'm gonna have to deal with Bakugo though." So he immediately is like, he's weighing his options here. He's like, be able to talk more to Momo, or have to deal with Bakugo, or send someone else and have them deal with Bakugo. But then he thinks, what if they talk to Momo? And he's like, heck nah, I can't allow that to happen. So immediately after this, he's like, "Yeah, I'll go. It's fine." And he's like, "Whatever, no matter how much Bakugo decides to mess with me, I guess I'll just ignore him, or I can always just kick him away and heal him later, I guess." And then eventually a week goes around and they're doing basic courses, and finally it's the day of the USJ, and he's like, "All right, cool." So he actually gets to take his own car. Uh, I don't know, because okay, we'll say that he's going to ride separately. Um, he's going to ride separately with, we'll say 13, because he asked to ride separately, and he knew that if he walked, he would have to, miss school for the first portion of the day, and Recovery Girl didn't want that to happen. She he so she contacted 13 to see if they could ride in with her, and she obliged. And afterwards, so he gets there way before everyone else does. So him and 13 are just talking, and he's like, "Yeah, no, the guy with the explosion quirk, he's gonna have a problem with me. So, little heads up, if anything comes of that, then I'm sorry." And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll make sure that you'll be fine." And he's like, "Oh, trust me, I know I'm fine." And she's like, "Oh, confident?" And he's just like, "Oh, trust me, if I really wanted to, that man could not touch me. But I have to keep up a little bit of a facade because all I have is a healing quirk, you know?" And she's like, "Even so, I guarantee you it could be dangerous in some sense." And she just gives a lecture to him. And he's like, "Yada, yada, yada." And eventually, Class 1A appears. And immediately, Bakugo sees Izuku and he's like, "Deku, why are you here?" And he's like, "Bakugo, chill out. 13 has something to say to y'all." And 13 explains that he's just here for a just in case precaution in case anybody needs extra healing or if somebody tires out themselves way too much and they want to be able to continue. And then all of a sudden, Kirishima says, "Whoa, you guys even have fake villains?" And 13 is like, "Wait, what? We don't have any fake villains." And Aizawa says, "Those aren't fake. Those are real." And eventually, everybody's just like, "Wait, what?" So everybody's like freaking out, and Izuku's even like, "Wait, how is there villains in here? I thought this place was gonna be secure." Like even he did like a perimeter check around it, and like there was nothing. And he's like, it must be a teleportation quirk." And then all of a sudden, he sees Kurogiris, and he's just like, "Yeah, teleportation quirk." So I can see after this, I can see everybody getting teleported, but since Izuku wasn't on the roster for Class 1A, he doesn't get teleported. So he's just chilling there. Like, uh, "Hey, what's up, hello?" Like, he's just chilling there, like, wondering what's going on. So he actually decides to try and find Momo. So he's, like, scavenging the place, and he helps Aizawa for a few minutes, and he's like, "But I gotta go help. Like, I gotta go help out other people." And Aizawa completely understands. So after this, I could see Izuku. He goes and finds Momo, and he helps her out in that zone. And he's like, "Okay, by the way, Aizawa needs our help, so I need you and your powerful quirks. I need y'all to all go help him." And Momo's just like blushing, and she's like, Right." So all three of them, I can't remember. I know it was Jiro. Oh, Jiro and Kaminari. Like Kaminari, he didn't dumb out his brain cells, we'll say, because Izuku just got there so fast that Kaminari couldn't even think to like register using his lightning ability. So we're gonna say Izuku. Then he goes everywhere else. He helps out. He helps out. Uh, well, he wouldn't really need to help out anyone else. Actually, yeah, I'd say he goes and finds Ojiro, and he helps him out in the fire zone. I believe. I believe that's where he was. So he goes and helps him out there, and he goes and helps out Toguyami in the dark section, and Izuku, like his thing gives off light, but it doesn't give off enough to where it would calm down Tokiyami's dark shadow. So, yeah. After this, what I can see going down is Izuku going back and seeing Aizawa in such a roughed up shape, and he's like, and he sees Todoroki and Bakugo like both rushing in as fast as he can. He's like, "Aizawa, come here!" And Aizawa's just like, "Right," and he just like rushes like limping, and like it's known that he took out all of the villains, and he had Momo, Kaminari, and Jiro's help after, and like on the like 75% mark, and then the Nomu rushed at him, and yeah. So we're gonna say after this, Todoroki and Bakugo like suddenly appear, and they both start helping out, and they actually start comboing this Nomu. Like, what he does is Todoroki freezes the Nomu, and Bakugo just launches a massive explosion at us. Like, how is their impact level? And he's about just as strong as he was in canon, maybe a little bit weaker. Bakugo is, and because again, it's like I can see him not being as strong because he didn't have Izuku to like really challenge him, or not challenge him, but like the 10 months he would think like, "Oh, it's just whatever. Like I don't have, like I'm good enough for it anyways. Like I don't need to really try." And I know this probably wasn't how it was in the original, but I don't know. That's what I feel like. But after this, I could see we get a scene of Izuku healing up Aizawa, and Aizawa's actually like perfectly healed, and he's like, "Yo, kid, how did you do that so flawlessly?" And he's like, "I don't know, man. I really like healing. I mean, I also really liked you as a hero because I didn't grow up with a flashy quirk, so I I really liked you as a hero. I mean, All Might's cool, but I honestly preferred heroes like you." And he's like, "Actually, you were one of my favorite heroes because of the fact like that your quirk wasn't so flashy and because you relied a lot on martial arts. I mean, watching you fight your villains, that's a lot of what inspired me to learn MMA." And I was always just like, "Whoa, kid, that's amazing, but you got to focus in on this battle." And Izuku's like, "Yeah, you're right." So he's like, "How can I help? Like, what can I do to help y'all?" And he's like, "Well, you have a healing quirk, correct? What I would like is that all you can do? Is there no? Do you have any drawbacks?" And he's like, really the only drawback that I have is I can't bring people back from death. But if I had like thread on me, which I didn't take my hero stuff with me, or like I didn't take my any of my like gear with me, or if I had like a scarf or something, and I was always like, wait, scarf, and he's like, here, catch this, and he pulls out an extra scarf, and Izuku's like, oh, I can work with this. So immediately he starts using his healing power. He controls it like Aizawa does his scarf, and he wraps up a bunch of his classmates and like heals them, and like even keeping that healing power with Aizawa just in case. Running the same like if Aizawa got hit, he would immediately heal from it. And he was like, "Oh, this is nice." And Bakugo and Todoroki had the exact same thing, and Bakugo's like, "Deku, I don't need this," and he's about to throw it off, and Izuku's like, "You're gonna keep it on, whether you like it or not." And he like tightens it around his body and he's like he goes like that's what Bakugo does. Like he inhales sharply and he's like, "Dang, Deku, that's really tight." And he's like, "Oh, my bad." And he relieves some of the pressure and he's like, "Deku, I don't need this, but I guess I guess I'll have to take it, won't I?" And Izuku's just like, "Yep, you right." And Bakugo, Todoroki, and Aizawa, they all just start fighting this Nomu, and they're like, let him get up," because they're just comboing this man, and it's not really affecting the Nomu at all. But like Shigaraki hasn't given any commands because like he's just like in awe, and he's like finally he snaps out of. He's like, "Nomu, what are you doing? Don't just stand around and take these hits. I know you're not getting affected by any of them, but still, you have to." And then all of a sudden, ha ha ha! I am here, and it's All Might with his regular old, but with his regular old stuff, except he's not smiling in this version. Wait, hold on. Okay, so I can't remember if Deku healed All Might already. I don't think he did. Um, but we're gonna say that he didn't. In this one's yet at least. So after the battle goes on, I can actually see I could see it going something along the lines of like All Might bursts in the door and he's like, I am here, and I know what you're doing to my students." Because it's revealed that Ida actually did manage to get it out on time, just like in canon. And after this, uh, All Might and the Nomi start fighting, and All Might like after this, like it goes the exact same to canon, maybe a little bit faster because of the stuff that Todoroki and Bakugo were doing to help, and Aizawa especially, and what Itsuki was doing to help them as well. He was about to do it to All Might, but he was like, "Nah, it's All Might. Like, come on now, he doesn't need it." So after this, I would say also, if you guys haven't noticed, or like if my voice changed at all, it's because I started standing up, and now I'm just messing around with things in my room. But nah. After this, I could see like him about a debuff. He's like, "Crap, I'm out of time." And Izuku, what he does is he wraps his bandage around him and he starts healing. And All Might's like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Whoa, I feel so powerful." So he buffs up, like he keeps his buff form on for like a lot longer. And he's like, "If you don't move, I'll have to get over there." And he's like, and like same what he did to Shigaraki in canon, except this time there's not that smoke. So like Shigaraki knows it's on site. Like if he doesn't skirt up out of there, he's done for. So he's like, "Kurogiri, get me out of here." And All Might's like, "No, you don't." And Kurogiri TPs him away, like just in the nick of time. So after this, I can see All Might being like, "Kid, what quirk do you have?" And he's like, "Oh, I just have like I just have a regular old healing quirk." except if I channel it through certain things, I can channel that healing through. I can actually channel that healing through my the items and use it to be able to heal, which is what I was doing to you and Aizawa and Todoroki and Bakugo. And he's like, that's interesting. So he's like, I want you to follow me really quick, kiddo. Actually, I want you to return to school with me. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, see y'all. And he says bye to Momo and he gives her a little hug and he walks out. Like he's tall and he's buff in this version. Like that's Deku. So he's taller than Momo. I would say, I don't know. I don't feel like coming up with a height on the spot. But he goes back to the school with All Might and they get back to the school and all of a sudden All Might just debuffs and he's like, kid. Bleh. And he's like, you're not the real All Might. And he's like, kid, I assure you I am. It's actually why I called you in here. So you see, and he explains all one for all, and he lifts up his shirt and he's like, but you see this right here? This little scar right here has, taken it out of me. So I was gonna see if you could try and heal me. And Deku's like, oh yeah, no, that's light work. A little bit of a respiratory thing. So he's like, wait, what? That's light work. And he's like, yeah, no, just so he grabs some string and he's like, okay, this might hurt a little bit. So he just starts using the string, kind of like if you guys know Hunter x Hunter, the like the threads, the nim threads that one girl with pink hair in the Phantom Trooper uses. He does something like that, and except he doesn't like reattach anything, but instead what he does is he just heals it, and All Might's just like, whoa, kid, how are you that powerful when you're healing? And he's like, and Izuku just like wipes sweat off of his forehead and is like, whoa, that took it out of me. And he's like, kid, what drawbacks do you have to your work? And he's like, well, from what I've realized, I mean, I can't resurrect people I can't bring people back from the dead. So, and then my healing, like the amount of stuff that I can heal, honestly, it honestly just goes off my regular old health. So if I was dying, then I would not be able to heal somebody well enough. But it also goes off stamina. And he's just like, whoa, kid, that's so powerful. Have you not gotten sick or anything? Quirk just like fails, and he's like, no, not really, because it goes off of my like overall health. What I can do is I can just pump that healing quirk through my own body so I don't get sick. And honestly, it's kind of hard to lose stamina when I'm constantly being healed back of my stamina. So I pretty much have infinite stamina and I never really get hurt. However, whenever I have big things like this, where I have to heal like a respiratory thing, like your whole lung was like gone, like to be honest. But I mean, I just brought it back, just some slight. And he's like, kid, that's incredible. You could go so far in the hero world. Why are you settling just to be under recovery girl? Why don't you try and go for U1A? And he's like, well, I could see that. And he's just like, it's not exactly the flashiest quirk around, so I don't see me being too popular of a hero. And All Might's just like, kid, your healing could change the world, and you think you couldn't be a popular hero? And he's like, yeah, that's what I've been told my entire life, so I kind of just believe that. And he's like, kid, there's this thing going on in a few weeks. It's called the sports festival. And he's like, yeah, I know perfectly well what it is. And he's like, okay, then you know exactly the opportunity that it can give you. We have another promising candidate who is currently just in the business course, but he's like trying to get to 1B at least, and his quirk is so powerful. And he's like, that kid could honestly make it. He could probably beat some of the third years. It just relies on somebody speaking back to him, and the fight's over pretty much, unless they have some sort of way to, block telepathic attacks. And he's like, and Izuku's just like, whoa, that is powerful. I might have to figure out how I can use my healing to block something like that. And All Might's just like, yeah, I know. That I feel like that kid could even take me out if he wanted. So good thing he's on our side, because that would make such a powerful quirk for everyone too. And Izuku, he immediately he gets a little bit mad at this, and he's like, what do you mean he could be a villain? I mean, just because he says this because he had one of his old close friends who had, oddly enough, had purple hair and had a quirk that was fairly similar to it, who honestly was getting bullied for being for having a villainous quirk. And Izuku said, there's no such thing as a villain quirk and a hero quirk. It's all about the character that uses it. And All Might is immediately impressed, and he's like, no, I agree completely. However, I am just saying that there are quirks where it'd be easier to be a villain and be a hero. And he's like, yes, well, that is true. However, you also have to consider, even with a quirk that is easier to be a villain, it can easily be swayed to be changed into a hero. So, do that as you will. And Izuku immediately walks out and he's like, bye, All Might. I'll talk to you later. And All Might's like, please consider my proposal. Maybe ask for Cover Girl, the lady you're training under, to see if you may be able to participate in the sports festival. And he's like, maybe. I guess you'll just have to wait and see. And All Might's just like, that kid, he could go so far, yet he's setting himself so low. And for what? Some past trauma? And I'm not dumbing down past trauma or anything, but All Might is just like, ooh, that kid could go so far, yet he tries not. And we actually see a scene of Aizawa actually eavesdropping on their conversation. Not about, like, not the whole overhaul, like, not the whole one for all thing, but he hears, like, the past part of, like, the sports festival, and he walks in the room and he's like, yeah, no, I definitely agree. And All Might's like, wait, agree about what? That kid, he could definitely go way too far, but he really doesn't try. I mean, honestly, I feel like if he took the entrance exam, he probably would have made it into 1B at least, but I don't know. That kid, he's exceptional. Even watching him fight, I mean, when he was fighting the villains with me, he was keeping up. If not, he was doing more than I was. And All Might is just like, yeah, I know, that kid, his potential it's limitless. He even healed my injury. And we see him in his, like, Big Might form. And man, I cannot speak today. So anyways, we have a time skip of about a week, and during this week, Izuku is just thinking, he's like, man, I wonder, how can I run my healing quirk and try and be resistant to telepathic attacks? Because I doubt that Shinso is going to be the only one that's able to do this, because it's actually revealed that the kid was name dropped, and you realize that it was his old childhood best friend who was at his school for like a year or two, and he suddenly disappeared one day. And the rumors were that he moved schools because of the bullying, and he felt super bad that he wasn't able to help. So after this, I could see Izuku just training, and he finally figures it out after that week or two. And he's like, oh, if I just pump excess healing into my brain when I feel like I'm about to be, like, have a psychological attack, then I'll be able to defend it. And this is what he comes to, and I'm just gonna say that that's how it works. So after this, the UA Sports Festival starts, and Bakugo, he gives a speech, and he's like, I'm gonna win. And everybody's just like, clap, clap, clap. Cool, yeah. And Midnight's just like, what a speech from our #1 contestant, Katsuki Bakugo. And it's actually revealed that Izuku, the girl that can heal herself, and yeah, I think that, okay, anyways, it's just Izuku that's doing it, and Recovery Girl's grandson. Because he did it more just so that way he could make sure everybody else was safe. Izuku was doing it because he wanted to prove himself, because he was kind of being forced to by All Might and Aizawa and Recovery Girl. So after this, we see the race, and I could see Izuku just like, what I would say he would do is he would get trapped in the ice because he doesn't have actually, no, I feel like he would see the ice, he would jump out of the way, but he would still have trouble walking on it. So he would just, like, eventually he makes it past, and he just comes across the 0-pointers, and he's like, heck nah. And so he just dodges and weaves past them, because you guys have to think, with his healing quirk, while it's useful, it's basically him being quirkless, but just with an extreme MMA skill, and he just has incredible durability, and he has incredible regen. So I can actually see Izuku, he makes it past that, and he's keeping on par with Bakugo and Todoroki, except I don't see him having this big brain moment about all of the mines, so I can actually see him coming in 3rd place. So yeah, because you guys have to think, the only reason why I'm saying 3rd place is because his muscles aren't getting tired, like, so he's running this entire track, his legs aren't getting tired because of his healing quirk, And yeah, I can see for the fights, like him being able to have like the scarf that Aizawa uses. But anyways, he gets second place. I mean, yeah, he gets third place. And I can see his team for the cavalry battle being Momo, Tokoyami, Momo, Tokoyami. Then I can also see Shinso joining him because like Izuku went up to him before this sports festival and was like, "Yo, Shinso, do you remember me?" And they both just like revel in the old times and blah blah blah. And I can actually see those three being the team, and then I can also see who do I want to put with him? Uh, I would say her recovered girl's grandson, and because that's the only other person Izuku knew, and he didn't want to have to bother anyone else. So after this, I would say like they would do the smart thing, go after all the other small groups. Like they wouldn't go after Todoroki and the 1 million, 10 million point headband. Bakugo would, and that would be his downfall. But everybody in canon passed, and so yeah. After this, we get the fight between. Oh yeah, Recovered Girl's grandson. He drops out. He drops out of the comp, and yeah. So after this, I can see Shinso versus Izuku happening as the first battle, and Izuku's just talking freely. He's like, "Yo, Shinso, it's been a minute though. How you been?" And Shinso's just like talking back, and they're talking back and forth. And Shinso's like, "Wait, I have a question though. How are you not affected by my quirk?" And he's like, "Oh, it's because I'm running a constant stream of healing to my brain, so that way your telekinesis or your telepathic abilities don't really work on me." And he's just like, "Oh, dude, you're way more OP than you were as a kid." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I guess. I mean." You pick up a few things or two whenever you're fighting MMA and you have to fight people that are like 4 or 5 times your size. And Shinso is just like, fair enough. And he's just like, and Izuku's just like, so are you gonna forfeit or do you want me to beat you senseless? And Shinso is just like, wait, what? And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. Um, I feel like you would actually be able to win this entire thing because maybe not Todoroki, but as long as you fought Bakugo first, you'd be chilling. And he's like, and Deku raises his hand. He's like, yo, I forfeit, by the way. And everybody's like, "What? That fight was so lame." And that's what everybody says. And the next fight is announced, and it's Todoroki versus Shinso. And Deku was just like, "Crap, Shinso, you better pull out all the stops here." And Shinso says, "Okay, so he's not using his fire, meaning he probably doesn't like his dad. His dad is Endeavor, so Shinso is just like, I guess you really don't like your dad, huh?" And then Todoroki's like, "What'd you say?" And then immediately gets caught under it and he has to walk off the stage. And then Bakugo, even if he was like trying to keep his mouth shut, I feel like Shinso would just say something about Izuku and how he's stronger than him, and Baku would be like, huh, "That damn nerd isn't stronger than me at all," and then make him walk off. And even if their resolves are strong, they still don't have this like ability to go past telepathic abilities. So, or mind control. I mean, I don't know why I was saying telepathic and, uh, anyways, I meant mind control. So after this, I can see, uh, uh, after this, it's revealed that they're going to be interning with people, and Izuku figures this out from Recovery Girl, and he's like, "Can I just intern with you?" And she's like, "No, you can't. How about you go intern with Aizawa? I feel like he actually wanted me to ask if you would intern with him anyways." And he was like, "Oh, okay, bet." So that's what he does. He goes and he interns with Aizawa. Melissa goes and interns with Gran Torino, and she learns full cowling. And because I believe I'm the one that I believe I gave her one for all in this version. If I didn't do that in the last part, uh, then yeah. And the internships, I feel like would go something like this, and Izuku would actually say, "Hey, something didn't seem right about one of your students. I think his name was Ida. Like his older brother just like died, and Stain, the person that killed him, it has been around Hosu for a minute, so I feel like we should go there." And I was always just like, I see your point. Shinso, Izuku, let's go. And they're like, I bet. So I can see them going to Hosu and helping out with the whole Nomu situation. And Izuku and Shinso both actually end up going and finding Stain. And I feel like Izuku would just be like, "Hey Shinzo, try and make this guy talk," and Shinzo's just like, "Well, I guess you really don't like these heroes, huh?" And Stain is immediately like, "Yeah, I guess you're right. These fake heroes, they can't do anything to me." And we're gonna say that they were they found him because it's like they heard native screams for help. And Shinso's like, "Dude, my mind control isn't working on him." And he's like, and Stain's just like, "Oh, mind control. What an interesting quirk. However, that won't work on me just that quite easily. I mean, even if you were able to, I would just break out of it anyways. I was trained by too many people for me to lose to something like that." And he just rushes at them, and he's like, "I do like how you both tried to come here for your friend instead of me, but that's where your first problem lied. I guess I have a little bit of a hinge of respect for you both, especially you you white-haired rat. You know, I heard how much trouble you gave the blue-haired person over at the League of Villains, Shigaraki, I think you knew his name for. I heard you gave him for a run for his money. However, I guess I can't allow that to happen because they're wanting you to work with them and all." And Izuku's like, "They're wanting you to work with them? Please. They're weak anyways." And Same is just like, "Yeah, I see that, but I still gotta fight y'all." So then the fight commences, and we just see like sparks from Izuku dodging and Saint hitting the walls, and he's like, "Quit dodging, kid!" And he's like, "Just 1 minute." And Stain is thinking, just one slash, like that's all I need. And I don't even want to. He doesn't even want to kill Izuku and Shinso. He just wants to kill Ida and Native. So after this, I can see Shinso end up getting cut and getting stopped, and I can see Izuku actually thinking, "Okay, what do I want to do here?" And he's just dodging and weaving, and he's like, "Okay, make," and he hits him with a roundhouse kick to the gut, or like to the liver, and then he hits him, and then he spins around and he plants his right foot, like he did the roundhouse kick to his liver with his right foot. He pivots, he lands on his right foot, he does a spinning heel kick to Stain's knee. Yeah, we'll say knee. And then after he pivots off this, he jumps off and he lands on his left foot, and he lands a massive like tornado kick to Stain's jaw, like knocking him clean out. Like he hit him with the Itadori combo. Like, I don't think this combo would be possible in real life, but I'm gonna just say that it is because thinking about it, like a roundhouse kick, jumping up, landing, doing a spinning heel kick, and then jumping up again on off your right foot, landing with your left foot, and landing a tornado kick to somebody's head. That's a triple kick right there. Like, I don't think you understand how OP that would be. But anyways, I can see Stain being knocked out, and then all the events go to canon. Like the Nomu coming and trying to pick up Izuku, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm a goner." And Stain stopping the Nomu, and Endeavor getting credit for it all. Except Todoroki wouldn't. Actually, yeah, no, Todoroki would have been there, except he just wouldn't have helped with the fight. And then Izuku, he's just texting. Like after this, like they get told that they don't have their hero licenses, but it's gonna be said that it was Endeavor the entire time, so they won't get in trouble. But they need to know for future reference that they can't just go after villains. And Izuku says, "Yes, sir." Shinzo says, "Yes, sir." Ida's like, "I'm sorry, sir," because he feels like the worst about it because, you know, he was the one that originally wanted to go after Stain. So, non-plan. But anyways, I can see Izuku. He's just texting Momo. He's playing like, "Hey, I just took down a villain. You know, I'm feeling kind of tired. How about I come over and how we just hang out?" And Momo's just like, I won't deny that, because we're gonna say that Momo lives on the estate, but she lives in a separate house. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So they just do a little bit of studying, you know. Just no, I'm not gonna copy each other, but you know. And then they go back the next week, and finals come up for 1A, and Izuku isn't in 1A, so nothing would really be changing there. And so, yeah, we're gonna actually cover the full finals for how much 1A would change with Izuku being gone and it actually being Melissa. So, thank you all so much for watching. What if Deku had a healing quirk? Part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a little bit rushed. I don't know if you guys could tell there at the end, but I was trying to get in a few parts, and I'm trying to not make this video an hour long because I honestly just like love this topic because it's like healing quirks in anime are so underused. Like, to be fair, like if you can channel lightning through your body and go faster, I don't see exactly why you can't channel healing through your body and just have like monstrous durability. But I digress. So thank you all so much for watching again. It's a pleasure to be here. Jay with this. And anyways, have a wonderful night and peace.